Happy Monday, everybody. Um, Two announcements. First, the grade level Zoom meeting that I had set for Tuesday is not happening. We're going to do one meeting on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. One meeting on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We'll do grade level meetings next week, May 5th. Also, I did change the writing assignment. It's on Cardboard Kingdom, which I know many of you said I've already read, but I want to go deeper with it, and that's on the blog under writing assignment. If your parents will let you, you can still choose to do a paragraph on what a character is thinking instead, but I want one of those. A Google form on Cardboard Kingdom or a paragraph on what a character is thinking. Good chapter. Let's jump in. Chapter 12. After breakfast, me and Mr. Lewis said goodbye to the Sleets and we got back into the car. I leaned to the front seat to put my suitcase in the back. Mr. Lewis, someone stole all the blood last night. He said, I'll say one thing for you, bud. When you go to sleep, you go way to sleep. You don't remember anything about last night after we got to Flint? I don't think so. After you so rudely fell asleep on me, we dropped the blood off at Hurley Hospital. Then I gassed up. Then I got in touch with your daddy to let him know we were all right. What did he say? I didn't call him. I sent him a telegram to the log cabin. He still owns that club, doesn't he? Good. Yes, sir. He pulled out a flimsy piece of yellow paper and he handed it to me. It said, HEC, stop. Bud OK in Flint, stop at 4309 North Street, stop. Return 8 p.m. Wednesday, stop. Lefty, stop. Man, I'll bet Hermione Calloway is just confused by this message as I was. It's an old school telegram, and you use the word stop here and there. Well, when you send a telegram, the more letters you use, the more money you have to pay. So you try to keep them as short as you can. Here, let me hand it to you. Okay, HEC, that stands for Hermione Calloway. Bud OK in Flint, that lets you know how far you've gotten. You're safe. And you got pretty far, Bud. Maybe he won't be too hard on you when he sees how resourceful you were at running away. I know I'd gotten darn proud of my kids once they'd gotten that far. At 4309 North Street, that's my daughter's address. Return 8 p.m. Wednesday, let them know I'm bringing you home by 8 tonight. What is all the stop? Oh, that's the telegram's office way of saying period. It just means sentence is over. Lefty Lewis spent most of the day doing errands around Flint. He made me a promise to wait in the car for him. I was good and happy when he said, that's it, bud. Time to head home. We drove past a sign that said, Welcome to Flint on one side, and when he looked up, he said, uh-oh, a siren went off, and it sounded like it was in the back of the car. I raised my head to look over the back seat. Uh-oh, was right. A Flint police car was right behind us with the red light on top, flashing on and off with the sirens blasting. They'd found me. The doggone FBI was just as good as movies said they were, just like those Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They always get their man. He pulled the cart over the side of the road and said real calm and real slow, Bud, it's very important you listen carefully what I'm going to tell you and do exactly as I say. He kept his eyes stuck on the rearview mirror. By the way he was acting, I was starting to think maybe he was on the lam, too. Wait a minute. How come this man didn't have a real name? Who ever heard of someone's mama naming him Lefty? They had alias written all over it. Lefty sounds like a real good name for a stick-up man. It seemed like it would be real easy for Machine Gun Kelly to point at poor some slob and say, that's the guy who ratted me out. Lefty, you finish him off. And what he just said about listening carefully and doing exactly what he said was number 8 of Bud Caldwell's Rules and Things to Have a Funner Life and Make a Better Liar Out of Yourself. Rule number 8, whenever adult tells you to listen carefully and talks to you in a real calm voice, do not listen, run as fast as you can, because something terrible is around the corner, especially if the cops are chasing you. I stared at him, keeping my fingers crossed. The next thing he said wouldn't be, you'll never take us alive, copper, but he didn't say that. Bud, are you listening? I had to play along. Close your mouth. Good. Take the box that's next to me and quickly put it way beneath your seat. I picked up the box that was the size of a big book and slid it under my seat. Good. Now stay put and don't say anything. Don't worry. It's going to be all right. He opened the door and he walked back to the police car. I tried to decide what to do. If I ran, they'd plug me. But maybe he would wrestle the gun away before they got a shot off. Or maybe Maybe he would take the bullet for me. Okay, I told myself, I'm going to count to 10, then I'm going to reach in the back seat, snatch my suitcase, and run for those buildings. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this time I'm really going to grab that. The copy and Lefty Lewis were standing at the door. I want to take a look in the trunk. Him and Mr. Lewis went around to the back to the trunk and opened up, and I heard some rumbling in it. I heard a loud bang, and I nearly jumped out of my seat. Oh, it's just them closing the trunk. They walked to the driver's door. What's in the suitcase? Those are Bud's things. He was visiting here in Flint, and I'm taking him home to Grand Rapids. Oh, your grandson? You two look just alike. Thank you, officer. I always thought the boy was unusually handsome. The cop didn't have a sense of humor. He said, all right, you're free to go. We just can't be too careful these days. I don't know if you've heard, but we're having a lot of trouble in factories here. We've been stopping all the cars we don't recognize. There's been reports that some of the labor organizers are sneaking up here from Detroit. You don't say, said Mr. Lewis. Drive carefully. He touched the brim of his hat the way a cowboy in the moving picture does. Lefty Lewis got in the car, started up, and we pulled back on the highway. He made a scary face at me and said, Bud, this has been a couple of lucky days for you. First, I saved you from being eaten at Owasso. Then you have survived my daughter's pancakes. And then finally, the police officer saves you from the feared and loathsome labor organizers of Detroit. You are blessed. He was back to acting normal. What's in the box, and what's a labor organizer, sir? In Flint, there are people trying to get unions, workers' unions, in the automobile factories. Before I had a chance to get my next question, he said, I'll save your breath for you. What's a union? It's like a family. It's when a group of workers get together to try to make things better for themselves and their children. That's all? That's all. Why are the cops after them? That's a very good question. Look in the box I put under the seat. I pulled out the box, put it in my lap. He looked at me and checked the rearview mirror. Go ahead. I stopped for a second. I thought maybe there was a pistol loaded in there. Maybe he would have shot the cop if he tried to take us to jail. I took the top of the box off, and to get it open, Lefty Lewis moved a lot faster than you'd think anybody's granddad did, and he closed it tight. Uh-oh. Maybe it was loot from a bank. Maybe he would rub me out if I saw what was inside. He said, before you look, Bud, you got to understand, what's in there is very dangerous. Well, I don't think I need to see it. I think I'll just look out the window. Maybe I'll take a nap. You're a lot smarter than you look, Bud. You know it would have been curtains for us if that copper would have seen it, what's in there. Yes, sir. Go ahead and open it, Bud. You have to promise, though, you won't swear to anyone that you'll breathe a word about this. I'd really rather take a nap. Open the box, Bud. I took a big gulp of air and I raided the box. And he yelled, Bud! I nearly jumped out of the car and banged my head on the roof. I didn't hear you swear to keep your lips sealed. Aw, shucks, Mr. Lewis, I swear. I would have felt better if I'd taken a doggone nap. I snatched the top of the box off and got ready to scare to death, but there was just paper in it. Maybe the pistol or loot was under the paper. I warned you, pretty dangerous, huh? I must have missed something. How is paper dangerous? Read it. Attention railroad workers. The newly formed Grand Rapids branch of the Brotherhood of Pullman Porters will be holding an informational meeting on Wednesday, July 23rd. Please come to 2345 Colebrook at 9 a.m. Refreshments will be served. You know what we're up against. Keep this as confidential as possible. It was starting to make sense. Mr. Lewis, are you a labor organizer? No, Bud. I'm picking these up so we can pass them out in Grand Rapids. We've been negotiating to get a union for the Pullman Porters for years now, and nowhere in Grand Rapids will print these flyers. The only place that would do them is a place in Flint. You're running away to a pretty hot town, young man. Wow. That trouble the policeman was talking about at the factory is a sit-down strike. Instead of walking in front of the plant with signs of the people who are on strike, you sit down on your job. That way the bosses can't bring other people in to steal your jobs. They're going to sit there until the company gives them a union. So the company is trying to take everything they can think of to get them out. That's why I said those flyers are dangerous. The people who run the factories and the railroads seem to be really scared. To them, a worker has any dignity or pride, he can't be doing a good job. Boy, these automobiles make you conk out. Between the car floating real soft down the road and Lefty Lewis's boring stories about the railroad and the Union and the baseball, I was out cold in no time. When I woke up, I looked out the window and stretched. Lefty Lewis said, "I was about to take you to Butterworth Hospital. I thought you'd left this earth for good. You were napping so hard." Looking familiar? Yeah. There's the gas station. I guess your daddy would have to burn premium in that big Packard, huh? I don't think those big engines can run on ethyl gasoline. No, sir. Well, you and your daddy sure have one beautiful machine. I was getting nervous, but I said, "Thank you, sir." We turned another corner, and my heart started jumping in my stomach. Halfway down the street was a building made it look like a chopped down trees, the log cabin. Uh-oh. Appearing Friday night through Sunday in July, Hermione Calloway and the Nubian Knights of the New Deal. My father had joined a new band. Lefty Lewis pulled up next to the car that was long as a big boat. There's the Packard. He's here. I had to think fast. I couldn't let Mr. Lewis and Herman Calloway talk to each other. If they did, I'd be on the first thing back to Flint. And besides, I felt kind of bad lying to Mr. Lewis. I wish I hadn't have. He cut off the car and pulled the keys out of the dashboard. "Mr. Lewis, is going to be very embarrassing." "What is, Bud? Can I talk to my father by myself? I swear I'll turn myself in." "Well, Bud, I didn't mean to sully your reputation, but you just ran away from that man all the way across the state. I think I'd better hand deliver you. But, Mr. Lewis, I need to explain to myself. I promise I'll go in and not run away again." He reached back across the street, put a seat, and put his hand on the twine, keeping my suitcase. "I'll tell you what, Bud. You don't go anywhere without this. No, sir. Here's the deal. I'll give you 5 minutes to talk to your dad alone. If you're not back then, I'm bringing this bag in for you." Well, it wasn't great, but it'll have to do. Besides, it gave me some more time to think. "Promise you won't look inside of it? You have my word." I got out of the car and walked to the front of the log cabin. The doors were made out of chopped down trees. I looked back at Lefty Lewis. I knew one of those doors that Mama had been talking about. I walked in to see what was going to happen. Shucks, there was another set of regular doors inside. The front door closed behind me and I was in the dark. I pushed the other door and it came open, but it didn't push all the way in. I waited and I went back out to get my bag. I walked over to the driver's side and said, "Thank you very much, sir. He's in there. He's glad to see me and I'm not even in a whole lot of trouble. He's busy right now and he told me to thank you very much. He'd get a hold of you." "Well, he might be happy now, but if I know anything about your daddy, I expect you're going to be having problems sitting down before the night's over. Now, he's going to tell you this, but I got to add my 2 cents. Son, there's too many places a young Negro boy shouldn't be traveling by himself, especially Michigan. There's folks in this state that make your average Ku Klux Klan look like John Brown." You know who John Brown is? No, sir. That's right. He's out there moldering somewhere in his grave. But the point is, you're lucky. You've got to be good and stay put. I know your dad's not the easiest man in the world, but believe me, he's mellowed a lot from when it was just him and your sister. The next time you're of a mind to do a little traveling, you come on down the train station and ask for Lefty Lewis. I won't tell on anyone. We need to talk before you set on your own again. Lefty Lewis. Can you remember that? Lefty Lewis. Okay. Get back on in here and tell your daddy I said hello. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I stood waving until the big car turned out in the street. I sucked a jumbo gulp of air and opened the front door again. I walked in. 5 of the men... Oh, it was dark, but I could see there were 6 men sitting in a circle on stage. 5 of them had their eyes on this other guy. One of them had drumsticks in his hand. 3 of them were drinking bottles of pop, and one, a real old one, was using a rag to wipe the inside of his trumpet. The guy who had to be my father was sitting in the back wearing a hat. He was talking just like me, and it didn't take too much listening to tell he was lying, at least doing some really good exaggerating. This was all the proof I needed. His voice was rougher and more tired sounding than I thought it would be. "That's right, after I won the Golden Gloves, no one could tell on me," he said. "I was going to be middleweight champ within 3 years. The drummer stopped tapping. "Middleweight? That was so long ago gravity wasn't as strong as now, or did you just weigh less back then?" "That's right, middleweight. You got to keep in mind that I had more hair and fewer pounds back then." He pulled his hat off and he rubbed his hands over his head. My dad shaved his hair. It was something I always wanted to do. My manager goes and lines up a bout against this fighter by the name of Jordan Snaggletooth McNevin. From the time I'm expecting some young Irish kid with bad teeth, this guy was one of us. And he was so old, he could have been a waiter at the Last Supper. When the fight began, I wasn't about to show mercy. And to make a long story short, I go out and flick this halfway stiff jab clean at his head, and Herman, to this day, I can't believe you swung at that old man, said the horn guy. What was I supposed to do, Jimmy? I wasn't trying to kill him or nothing. I just wanted to put him down quick and quiet. Went Jimmy went. The next thing I know, I'm watching my mouthpiece, and then I chance to be champ, fly out of the ring and hit in the fourth row of the streets. I'd never been hit so hard in my life. What'd you lose? One fight and quit? Then he said the words to let me know I was right. I felt like someone had cut a light on him inside. I knew it had to be right for me to come all the way to find my dad. He said, there comes a time when you're doing something and you realize it just doesn't make any sense to keep on doing it. You ain't being a quitter. It's just the good Lord has seen fit enough to give you the sense to know and understand that enough is enough. That was exactly the same thought I'd had when I got whipped by Toddy Boy. Only two folks with the same blood would think just alike. Okay, I'm going to pause it right there, and we will pick it up tomorrow. Happy Monday. We'll talk soon. Tomorrow's Zoom meeting, 10 a.m. No grade level Zoom meeting. I postponed that till the 5th. Okay? So one Zoom meeting tomorrow, the 28th. Okay.